From depths of deluge, the sundering of fear. Prologue. Within our world's vast mosaic of narratives, there exists a singular saga, seamlessly interwoven with threads of the extraordinary within the fabric of the mundane. This compels me to transition from the muted whispers of history to the pronounced chorus of storytelling. This particular chronicle, that of Ílýslæmhà, once vivid but now faded by time's relentless erosion, calls for a creative hand to mend the frayed edges where truths have thinned, and to breathe life into the silences left by history's retreat. In this endeavor, I aim to encapsulate his odyssey through the vibrant yet enigmatic lands of Dàvanthæl. This realm, characterized by its lush embrace and the wild murmurs of nature, acts not just as a mere setting, but as the anvil of Ílýslæmhà's profound transformation. His journey, detached from the opulent tales of old, yet deeply interwoven with our collective essence, narrates a tale of serene waters and destiny's stern grip. In weaving this tale, I meander the fine line separating the realms of recorded history and the uncharted lands of myth. While the precise exchanges and moments may have been swept away by the unyielding currents of time, the core, the spirit of truth, and the lessons it holds remains immutable. Thus, I extend an invitation to you, dear friend, to traverse this nuanced expanse between fact and fiction, embracing the tale with both a discerning eye and an empathetic heart. Within the folds of Ílýslæmhà's narrative lies not just a recount of a Fïyætirœíl confronting the abyss of his fears, but a mirror reflecting the intricate tapestry of the human condition. From his trials and victories, may you find echoes of our collective voyage through life's sprawling labyrinth, tied together by the enduring threads of valor and an undying flame of hope. As we delve into the legend that Ílýslæmhà has become, remember that each penned word, though shadowed by the limitations of mortal knowledge, is a homage to his enduring spirit and the perennial allure of Dàvanthæl. Embark with me on this shared journey, illuminated by the vestiges of ancient stars and ensconced in the memory of eclipsed moons, to uncover a story that resonates with the core of our shared existence. Chapter 1. The Dawn on the Lake. We begin our tale in the shimmering expanse of Dàvanthæl, in days bereft of shadow and sorrow, so long ago that time itself can scarcely recollect. Under the shade of the Dàvanthæl mountains, whose majesty crowns the land in peaks of vertical, snowy splendor, a village bathed in the sunlight of a dawn that cast its favor upon the Fïyætirœíl, scattering its rays across the lake's surface in a dance of light. This abode of peaceful souls had no intuition of its forthcomings. No foretellings were sung of the village whose destiny would later shape the world. So, as they had every other morning of the past 500 summers, the townsfolk went about their business with excited devotion, feeling positively fortified with the blessing of such a wonderful dawn. The scent of fresh bread lingered in the air with a delicious pungency. As children ran the streets in fits of laughter, the croppers walked to their fields in merry discourse, for the sun appeared to be on their side. However, while May were fit and able to go about their day, there was one household whose attention would dwell on a situation most crucial. In this household, shrouded in the humble embrace of earthen walls and thatched roofing, a remarkable event was unfolding, a moment suspended between breaths, heralding the arrival of a new soul. Within, Ínafín, her visage the embodiment of serenity and strength, was ensconced in the warmth of maternal battle. Beads of sweat glistened upon her brow, mirroring the morning dew, her golden hair sodden, as her hands, veined and elegant, gripped the linen beneath with a tender ferocity. Thedlin, her steadfast consort, was the unwavering pillar by her side, his countenance a blend of awe and anxiety. His hands, large and comforting, enveloped hers, a silent oath of shared fortitude between them. His gaze, usually so firm and assured, now danced with the flames of vulnerable anticipation. The air within was laden with an intensity that mirrored the quiet before a storm, a sacred tension that whispered of imminent life. The room itself seemed to hold its breath, the walls bearing witness to the timeless dance of creation and birth. And then, with a crescendo that pierced the morning's tranquility, their world blossomed anew as the cry of their newborn son, Ílýslæmhà, filled the air. It was a sound as pure as the mountain streams, a declaration of life's persistent song, cutting through the remnants of pain and fear. Ínine's face, now relaxed, was washed with a cascade of relief and unbridled joy, her eyes reflecting the dawn's first light as they rested upon her son. Thudlun, overcome, his voice a mixture of laughter and tears, whispered declarations of love and promises of protection. Without delay, as the first rays crowned the horizon, turning the sky into a canvas of oranges and pinks, he beckoned to their three daughters, Mitinda, Nithranva, and Velsola, who had been waiting, their young faces pressed against the cool outside air, a trio of blossoms in the garden of their family's love. They approached, their movements hesitant yet eager, each step a journey of excited hurry in the morning glow. As the sisters approached, their gazes fell upon the new life before them, their brother, a bundle swaddled in the gentle hands of their mother. The room filled with a new light, not just from the rising sun, but from the glow of a family united in a moment of pure, unbridled joy. Together, they stood, framed in the doorway of their ancestral home, as the sun, in its timeless ascent, rose above the Dàvanthæl mountains, blessing the scene with the promise of a new beginning, a new chapter for a family entwined by bonds of love, blood, and destiny. So it was, under the watchful gaze of the mountains and the benevolent sun, that Ílýslæmhà's journey began, cradled in the arms of his lineage, destined for a path woven by the threads of courage, wisdom, and a deep, unyielding connection to the very soul of Dàvanthæl. In the following centuries, under the cool of the Dàvanthæl's shadow, the seasons cascaded like the myriad streams feeding the heart of Dàvanthæl. The child, Ílýslæmhà, blossomed beneath the watchful eyes of the mountains and the nurturing gaze of his kin. He grew like the reeds by the lake's edge, tall and resolute, his eyes mirroring the profound azure of the Uadrothan, capturing the essence of the sky and water in their depths. His locks, danced upon his shoulders like spun gold, were as soft as the kindness within him. He moved with the grace of the lake's reflection, possessing the strength of the rooted earth. The boy's days were filled with the lessons of the land. He learned the lull of the streams, the memory held by the stones, and with the freedom of leaves in a gust. His heart found its greatest joy in the melody of the lake, in the shimmering of light that refracted the beauty of the sun. Beside the calm shores of the Uadrothan, he cast nets for fish. From the resources of the forests, he would build rafts, allowing him to traverse the many small streams and rivers around the mountainous domain of the Dàvanthæl. It was in the verdant expanse of youth that Ílýslæmhà's path entwined with that of Dàvanthæl, a kindred spirit whose soul seemed to be carved from the same ancient stone as his. Dàvanthæl, with eyes alight with the fire of untamed energy and hair the color of autumn's final flourish, was the mirror to Ílýslæmhà's calm, the tempest to his tranquility. Their friendship was a tapestry of contrasts and harmonies, a bond forged in the crucible of childhood dreams and shared adventures. Together they explored the mysteries of their verdant world, two halves of a whole, chasing the fleeting whispers of destiny on the cusp of the wind. In the early chapters of his life, set under the watchful peaks of the Dàvanthæl and illuminated by the gentle glow of the Uadrothan, Ílýslæmhà's days melded with the natural rhythm of Qèlyhéïc. His existence, filled with the everyday experiences of a boy in a modest community, flowed seamlessly amidst the cadence of village routines. With innate curiosity and a disposition towards kindness, he walked the earth of his homeland, his young spirit navigating the simple yet profound facets of everyday life. Chapter 2: Bonds Under the Mountain. The early centuries of Ílýslæmhà's life could probably be considered his happiest. In the small town of Qèlyhéïc, the young Fïyætirœíl flourished under the nourishment of the land and his community. Ingrained in the humbling customs of village life, he learned dignity from the years he'd spent with his father, tending to their fields, which were an important part of the lives of the people of Qèlyhéïc, as from these fields came the crop of Vírœl, the jewel flower. This flower produced a bright purple fruit, which the people of the land called sweet bloom, or rusmirth. This fruit was utilized in the brewing of ales. The fibers from its towering stems were graciously worked by weavers into fibers. It was said among those that lived in those early times that a cloak from Qèlyhéïc would keep you dry in the sea, and one would only feel the wind when it was removed. Ílýslæmhà grew alongside the Vírœl, becoming a friend of field and flower, a prominent figure among the harvests of Qèlyhéïc, and when the ale was finally ready, Ílýslæmhà was one of the first to be offered a flagon. But the crops of his father's fields were not his only love. What Ílýslæmhà adored more than anything was the wilderness beyond the familiarity of his home. Under the silent guardianship of ancient oaks and silent stone, among the babbling brooks and burgeoning meadows that thrummed with the melodic chorus of life, Ílýslæmhà learned of the tempting allure of the wild, the calling of mystery that lay just outside Qèlyhéïc in the vast and beautiful world. Though it must be said, he was not always alone with his comforts. The solitary tranquility of peace, although Ílýslæmhà's friend did not oft keep him company, as another had already assured that his days would be all but quiet. Dàvanthæl was as audacious as the mountain against a storm, as courageous as a captain against the churning tides. He stood as the complement to Ílýslæmhà's calming spirit, the pair by each other's sides for as long as they walked the expanse of the Dàvanthæl. Together, the young Fïyætirœíl explored the viridescent groves and quiet repose of the Udrothan. Summer came and went 400 times over. The trees shivered and dropped their leaves in the autumn. The lakes froze in the gnawing chill of winter. The thrushes and swifts departed the land and returned to their nests in the spring. Through it all, the bond between Ílýslæmhà and Dàvanthæl prospered. The ambiguity and enticement of the forest under the Dàvanthæl ignited a fierce fondness in the young Fïyætirœíl. They explored the mountain passes like a mariner embraces the perilous obscurity of the seas, navigating the uncharted expanses of a realm they held dear. Every crevasse and precipice unfolded before them as pages from a lost tome of days gone by, their footsteps inscribing new legends upon the age-old stone. With each peak they surmounted, the whispers of yore entwined with the sighing wind, binding Ílýslæmhà and Dàvanthæl not merely to one another, but to the very soul of Dàvanthæl, in a kindred forged amidst the echoes of the ancient earth. In the protective union of friendship, the young Fïyætirœíl, Ílýslæmhà, and Dàvanthæl honed their martial prowess with a fervor that echoed the fierce spirit of their forebears. Their days were filled with the thrum of bowstrings, the clash of sword against sword, and the primal dance of wrestling and hand-to-hand combat, each moment a testament to their growing strength and skill. As arrows sliced through the morning air, finding their mark with lethal precision, and blades sang a deadly duet under the canopy's dappled light, they were not merely boys, but warriors in the making, their laughter and shouts of challenge ringing through the forest as they prepared for whatever destiny the future might weave for them. They grappled with the strength of bears, their playfulness evincing the mischievous vivacity of fox cubs. But alas, the bonds of friendship are not without their trials, as for every day the two spent in peace, Dàvanthæl would ensure there were 2 days of mayhem to follow. As just as Ílýslæmhà enjoyed the hush of quietude, the same could not be said for Dàvanthæl. For the same conditioning that allowed Ílýslæmhà to endure the seduction of danger didn't exist within Dàvanthæl, who was far more liable to give into the persuasiveness of mystery. There is perhaps one story that I could offer as evidence against this claim, a tale that has lasted the test of time, an immortal ode to a friendship most dear. Chapter 3. A Cup Half Filled. It started with a gentle call on a warm summer's day, among the contorted branches of the forest under the mountain, that Ílýslæmhà and Dàvanthæl found themselves entwined in an affair as old as the ground they walked on. There were many stories told by the elder Fïyætirœíl of Qèlyhéïc that there were secrets of the land, hearkening back to ages when the 12 mighty Dàvanthæl walked among its fields and along its rivers. These dozen of most mighty decree left relics of their time on the mortal plane, imprints of memory on a canvas they helped create. It was under the watchful stones of the Dàvanthæl that Ílýslæmhà and Dàvanthæl stumbled across one of these relics. Runes, that most old and ancient text, primitive and elusive, a dialect long lost to the tongue of mortals. Even in the dawns of the Fïyætirœíl, the runes were archaic, a remnant of the divine hands that graced the land in ages yore. The runes beckoned them with a silent urgency, an enigmatic siren's call that could not be ignored. Engraved upon the stoic face of the cliffs of Novelithor, they lay hidden beneath the veil of time and foliage. It was here, amidst the tangled boughs and the stern cliff's shadow, that Ílýslæmhà and Dàvanthæl, bound by the cords of mystique and camaraderie, uncovered the path that led them into the heart of curiosity. Their journey followed the runes along a trail, which to them looked as if it had been left untrodden for thousands of years. The once square cobbles that dictated the path were broken and lifted, roots crept through cracks in between stones. It was a pilgrimage through the annals of the forgotten, each step a stride through the mists of antiquity. The land around them breathed with an unsung rhythm, pulsating with the secrets of the Dàvanthæl, whose hands once sculpted the contours of Vírœl. As they ascended the weathered path higher into the cliffs, the air grew heavy with the scent of ancient earth and the unspoken promises of yore. The trail was fraught with the trials of nature's untamed heart, which assessed their resolve, yet their spirits remained unbroken, fueled by the fires of youth and the unyielding bond of their fellowship. Ahead the dense foliage seemed to concede, opening to allow the light of the summer sun to grace the forest floor with a scintillating beauty. Upon reaching the clearing, they beheld an ancient sight, a silent guardian of history, nestled beneath the watchful boughs of a moon oak as ancient as the land itself. There lay an entrance, framed by the entwined roots of the venerable tree, which beckoned with a quiet dignity, a gateway to a grotto of the past. The allure of the entrance was too much for either of them to endure, and with a look of courageous questioning, they walked towards the overgrown ingress. Within the hallowed confines of the grotto, dust hung heavy in the air, a minuscule companion in the dark of the forgotten space. The chamber, resplendent with relics untouched by the ravages of time, lay before them like a dream half-remembered, an echo of the world's dawn. The craftsmanship bore the marks of a bygone era, its opulence a silent testament to the Dàvanthæl's legacy. What this space was they could not say, but it ignited questions beyond counting in Ílýslæmhà's mind, setting ablaze his imagination in an eruption of explosive thoughts regarding the origins of the secret he had walked into. Yet in all this historic wonder, it was a silver cup, resting innocuously upon a stone mantle, that called to Dàvanthæl with a voice that transcended language. Its contents, shimmering with the enigma of the ancients, looked like liquid bronze, swirling in a chalice that had been bereft of touch for millennia. The mystique of this liquid was enough to fill Ílýslæmhà's heart with caution. As he looked upon the cup, its contents half full, or half empty, depending on your perspective, he couldn't help but wonder what such an object meant. What was this liquid? Who put it there? However, despite the words of Ílýslæmhà's cautionary whisper, Dàvanthæl, ever the herald of his own fate, reached forth, his actions guided by the insatiable human dance with curiosity. In the moment that followed, light as bright as 1,000 suns permeated the space. In streaks of furious flashes, the once swirling liquid inside the cup took form. The creature, born of the cup's enchanted depths, was a guardian of secrets not meant for mortal eyes, a defender of the sanctity of the Dàvanthæl's resting gifts. Although in all its shimmering beauty, this radiant guardian of secrets was not of amiable intent. It happened in a moment as quick as the blinking of an eye, an act of instinctive defense. The creature's blade of ethereal sting thrashed at Dàvanthæl's throat. It was only due to the reaction of Ílýslæmhà that the creature's weapon was deterred from the soft skin of Dàvanthæl's neck. At that precise instant, Ílýslæmhà, with the grace of the ancient forest winds and the steadfastness of the mountain stone, engaged the ethereal assailant. A duel ensued, as ageless as the very cliffs that sheltered their fateful encounter. With every movement, Ílýslæmhà mirrored the elegance and fury of the world's primeval forces, his feet rooted in the strength of the earth, his arms swinging with the vigor of the winds. The creature, a being of light and shadow, countered with the relentless ferocity of a tempest, its form blurring between solidity and mirage. Their battle, though brief, was a spectacle of unearthly prowess, a dance of life and ethereality, lit by the arcane radiance of the chamber. Swords of flesh and light clashed, sending echoes that reverberated through the enchanted space and beyond. With Ílýslæmhà's swift intervention, the looming shadow of tragedy was averted. The pair retreated for the safety of the outside, as the creature's haunting wails reverberated through the grotto's stone. The encounter left an indelible mark upon their souls. As they emerged from the grotto, the roots of the moon oak moved to hide the entrance once more, sealing away the secrets that lay within. And thus, the relic and its guardian were left to slumber once more beneath the cliffs of Novelithor, while Ílýslæmhà and Dàvanthæl, with hearts heavy yet unbound, continued their journey under the watchful sky of Vírœl, forever changed by the day they brushed against the fabric of the divine. Dàvanthæl learned that day that the inviting compel of curiosity is sometimes best viewed with a patient mind. And Ílýslæmhà learned that he should probably have his blade ready the next time that Dàvanthæl reaches for a cup that isn't his. It is in rueful woe that I must leave our story here, my friends. Nevertheless, Ílýslæmhà's adventure will continue, but on the winds of another day. For a scholar's day is mightily productive, and there are duties of hungered affairs that one must indulge in, for the night does pass more merrily, with mutton and ale in the belly. Though please do return, as I shall endeavor to recount the full telling of Ílýslæmhà's mythos. So until next time, my friends, Húsal an Cadam, may warmth find you.